What I've said is that I think in Labour's manifesto, they should say Brexit, we accept the referendum result, Brexit as delivered by the Tories with their bungled deal is not working. We are going to have to look at it again. That will involve some sort of renegotiation, and that is what we'll do if we get a Labour government. Be bold about it, be honest about it, because I tell you, that is where the people are.
I'd like to pick up some comments that you've left. Nick Cruz, Campbell, unpleasant manner telling realistic truths. Phillips, pleasant manner telling gaslighting lies. There's really a debate to be had about this interview? No. The content of the interview, not at all. The manner of the interview, absolutely. Simon Barnford? Simon Banford, sorry. I cannot agree that Campbell was aggressive. She was playing thick. I'm afraid Alex Phillips' arguments were very, very lightweight, and Campbell's were very sound. But Campbell, I'm afraid, got annoyed, and it showed, and he was abusive. And in fact, I was horrified. I don't think this is about the content of the argument, or indeed what was being discussed. It's about the way it was discussed. Colin Thompson also says, respectfully disagree with me on this subject. I watched. Alex Campbell brought a knife to a gunfight. She preached Brexit revisionist history and couldn't defend her position. She absolutely couldn't. Mr. Campbell is very smart on any subject he takes on. Absolutely. And in fact, he's just written a book which I've got a copy of, and it's a superb book. In fact, I will review it. And he talks in the book about the advent of lying as part of the political debate. And given the chapter on lying, I think he should have been more prepared for this level of stupidity on the part of Alex Phillips. But that doesn't that isn't an excuse for the level of abuse and the aggression that he pursued. He should have put forward his case much more calmly. He would have had time. And I'm afraid to then go on to attack the BBC is inappropriate.
And we're finding that, in total, actually, about 260,000 EU laws are in UK statutes, and they'd find 4,000 down the back of the sofa they wanted to do something about.
Yeah, but they're laws that were passed by UK Parliament.
Well, they were, but they weren't able to be properly scrutinised. No amendments were able to be. No amendments were able to be made. Those laws were not made by the British people for the British people. Of course they weren't. I've sat in that Parliament. I was elected to it. Don't try and pretend I don't know how the EU system works.
I'm talking about our Parliament enacts EU law.
Of course it does.
They are
but
not
it doesn't
EU
really
laws
have
passed
any.
down. Look,
we're not into UK statute. I'm not actually denying that. But what the point of this is...
So don't say that they're laws that have been imposed on us by Brussels. They've been enacted by
there was
UK
no way as a member
government.
of the EU. There was no way as a member of the EU to reject them, and you know that as well as
your
I do.
MPs here could. That's what made sovereignty here.
We're going down a rabbit hole, and this is a pointless debate.
That's because you all talk such rubbish when you come on these programmes.
Excuse me, that's just unnecessarily rude.
But it's true. I'm sorry.
Arrogant. You haven't actually let me talk, so if you would let me talk, perhaps you might agree with me.
Well, let her finish, and then I will come back to you.
Because I don't think you're, particularly being a good contributor right now, because you're just being essentially rude.
Make the point.
Now, what I think a lot of people, when they voted for Brexit, wanted was essentially this country to take its future in its own hands and to make decisions that would benefit our industries, that would make decisions that benefit our communities, that would actually lift the wages of those who are the lowest paid, to actually secure our borders, which is something else that's not been done, to actually enable our fishermen to have a self-sustaining industry and actually make a profit from it. None of these things have actually been delivered. None of these things have been delivered because, frankly, we've got a government that treats Brexit like a gimmick and doesn't have any courage or conviction to see it through. And
Rishi Sunak is a Brexiteer. Rishi Sunak is a Brexiteer. Boris Johnson, eventually was a Brexiteer.
Was he? And I don't remember seeing Rishi Sunak holding many Corix boards and taking selfies on the campaign trail, so I would actually deny that he might be as much of a Brexiteer as he says he is. But frankly speaking, we're in a situation now where the government should be actually relishing the opportunity to take control of various laws and being able to put into place things, like I said, state aid into critical sectors. We're seeing right now AstraZeneca moving to Ireland. We're seeing car manufacturing moving to China.
Okay, Alastair Campbell, your turn.
Will any of these people who fought so hard for Brexit ever face up to their own responsibility and face the fact that what they all promised was a pack of lies, what they all promised was never going to work. None of you have ever brought forward a plan that says this is Brexit and this is how it works without damaging us here in the UK. And when I say you talk nonsense, let me finish. All of those laws that you talked about were enacted by elected British governments and elected British parliaments. The fact that you in Europe couldn't do anything about it underlines that the sovereignty lay here. So all your lies about taking back control, more money for the NHS, sovereignty, immigration, the rest of it, you've failed on every
I knew you were going to come up with, the money for the NHS. Nothing to do with me, not my campaign. And it's very rich, a man who essentially was part of telling lies to invade a country, to accuse me of dishonesty.
I think you might have lost the argument there, my dear. If I may patronise you even more, honestly.
No, that's it now.
Yes, I will.
No, that's it. No, that's it.
No, sorry. You bring these people on. You never challenge them. You let them talk utter rubbish about Brexit, and it's happened on the BBC for year after year after year.
Okay, I am not going to take that from you. With respect, Mr. Campbell. Thank you.
You don't have
thank you very much for being on the programme.
He was just angry.
Thank you very much.
I understand why he was angry, but he was angry, and. I would like to see a sound debate from both sides. I think it is time, after 7 years, it is time to hear why the Brexit side thinks they got it right. Because I still haven't seen serious Brexit advantages. Somebody pointed out that people in the haulage industry are now being paid twice what they were paid before Brexit. I think that's remarkable, and congratulations. I don't think that's an advantage which is played out across the entire economy, and I think that if some people have found an advantage and are being paid more post Brexit, that's tremendous. But I don't think that's routine. I think for the most part, people are finding that they are less well off post Brexit than they were pre Brexit, and at the same time, I think it is time for people like Campbell to advance the case that that there have to be alternatives to Brexit. He has tried to suggest that the Labour Party should put forward a proposal that in the new Labour Party government there would be a rediscussion of Brexit with Europe and a realignment if necessary. I think that might be the right approach, but not to do it by stealth. If it's going to be there, it needs to be in the manifesto, and I think a good number in the country will probably welcome that, and that might be decisive in the election. I think, on the other hand, there is still time to make Brexit work. Not get Brexit done, but to make it work. I think the Conservative Party, in the remaining time it's got, should demonstrate that Brexit can actually put money in people's pockets and can make people more secure as opposed to less secure. And I think that's less about the small boats, because the legislation which we're putting out is unlikely to work. I'm afraid I'm in the pocket of the Archbishop of Canterbury on this one. I think the way forward with the small boats is to convene an international conference and to deal with this internationally. And I think, having left Europe, we are in a position to field and head an international conference, just as we did when the 1951 Refugee Convention was defined. We led the way there, we can lead the way again. And that would be a suitable testament to Brexit. It's something we probably couldn't have done as a member of Europe. We would simply be leading a European debate about migration, and indeed Europe already had that debate and already had its conclusion, which was the Dublin Protocol, which actually doesn't work. So the Dublin Protocol unfairly targets the poorer countries in the south, like Greece, Italy, Spain, and they shoulder the burden of migration. That's unfair when the richer countries in the north have far fewer migrants and asylum seekers arriving at their shores to seek migration. There has to be a better way. And as we're now out of Europe, we can start that debate, and we should.